The Canucks have been around for half a century, but there's only ever been one player like Todd Bertuzzi. Hell, there will only ever be one Todd Bertuzzi. Now let's get emotional, Kyle, as we dive into the number one reason why you and I became Canucks fans. That's coming up next year on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, thanks for hitting the play button on today's episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And before we dive into the show, we want to thank you for listening to Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Speaking of YouTube, Kyle, here we are on YouTube. Together in the flesh, man. Together in the flesh. You're 3D. I kind of thought you were two-dimensional for a long, long time, but here you are 3D in the flesh. Todd Bertuzzi talk today, man. How excited are you for that?
I'm pretty excited for some Bertuzzi talk because I don't really think about Bertuzzi a lot. I don't know if that has a lot to do with the Steve Moore thing. I don't know if that has a lot to do with my pessimism. I don't know if that has a lot to do with the lack of playoff success. Who knows? But whenever you do mention the name, and you do have the flashbacks, you realize that the game has not seen a player similar since.
Yeah.
Think about Tom Wilson, but with 50 more points.
Yeah, Tom Wilson, but way faster and way better playing hockey.
But there is
not saying something because Tom Wilson is a good hockey player too.
Yeah.
But, Todd Bertuzzi, I think, is the main reason why I became a Canucks fan. And that's kind of what I want to talk about him today on Locked On Canucks. First and foremost, it's May long weekend. You're getting out of town. We're recording this in the past. But, you look at the Canucks right now, and they've been bad for a long time. And is that going to affect the next generation of fans? So I want to talk about that too. But first, I want to talk about how, again, we as kids, we got into the Canucks because of Todd Bertuzzi. My first ever Canucks memory was just watching a Todd Bertuzzi goal. I don't remember exactly the circumstances, but it was Todd Bertuzzi going down on the wing. I believe it was like the New York Islanders. He scored a wrist shot off the rush. That's my first ever Canucks memory, maybe like in 1997, 98, around 4 or 5 years old.
Damn, you remember the Canucks when you were way back when in 1998, 1997? You would have been 3 or 4 years old. That's something else,
4 or
man.
5, 4 or 5. Yeah.
The math. No, we were 5 years old in 1999. I just turned 30, man. I've been looking at the years. It is what it is. It's again one of those things. Bertuzzi made so many memories for Canucks fans, so I'm not surprised he was such a big part of your first memory. But he definitely was part of my first sight of love. Because when I saw hockey for the first time, I remember like Andrew Castles and Marcus Naslund, and it was like Game 3 or something against Colorado in the first round of the playoffs way back when. And then the next year, I was like, okay, that was cool. I enjoyed watching playoff hockey. Let me actually watch the Canucks every day with my pops. And yeah, Bertuzzi was part of like that. Again, when I fell in love with something for the first time, which was, again, the Vancouver Canucks. A big reason why I fuck with the city so much was because of the West Coast Express, was because of the way they played, and was because of Todd Bertuzzi. This dude was, again, no one like him. There still hasn't been anyone really like him since.
Yeah.
Like,
with that much size, power, and skill, there really hasn't. Like you said, Tom Wilson was an interesting example because size-wise, they're kind of similar. But Tom Wilson just, if he's on the same, he's not even on the same planet as Todd Bertuzzi. He might be on that little moon circling around Todd Bertuzzi planet, but he's not even on the same planet as Todd Bertuzzi.
Hey, bro, Tom, again, new to hockey. Like, I feel like I'm new to hockey again. Doing Locked On Canucks every day, teaming up with you. You're putting me through the boot camp. I'm getting my gears going again back into the NHL. I don't know Tom Wilson's stats over the last 2 or 3 years. So that statement may even sound crazier, but I brought up his name because I just feel as if Todd, you know how Tom Wilson was at one point like so intimidating, like this guy might hurt me on every shift. This guy might end my career in every shift. Bro, Todd Bertuzzi was that too, but again, with 50, 60 more points.
Yeah, and especially in the playoffs, right? Like I think one of my favorite, bulk of Bertuzzi memories is in that St. Louis series back in 2003. I mean, that guy broke Al McInnes. Like he was just slamming Al McInnes on every shift. I think there's like that big hit. he threw on Bryce Salvador game 7 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was it. Like, I think one thing that a lot of casual fans love about hockey is the physicality, and it's not quite the same in today's NHL. And like we said, there's no one that's really done it like Tom Bertuzzi. Like, this guy destroyed people, man. He destroyed people in a time where the type of hits you could get away with, it was a lot more lenient. And you're just an absolute bull. And I'm trying to get other players in today's game who remind me of him. Like maybe Jamie Benn is like one guy, but again, it's just not quite as physical and not quite as jaw dropping as Tom Bertuzzi.
Just not as mean.
And not as mean. Yeah, that's it.
Dude, it was a big thing. Being that intimidated, of a player, of a force of nature who could also like score goals and make plays with one of the best snipers in hockey. Naslund was a great player. Morrison did his thing, but if I had one game to win, like playing a pickup game and I had to build a team, I'm picking Bertuzzi over Naslund.
Yeah. Oh, I would too.
Like a prime Bertuzzi, dude. He's right up there, man. I think I was about to say, a comparison, not really. Again, listen to me. A comparison, not really, was Peter Forsberg. Because again, not really because of the like Bertuzzi was mean, dangerous. He was actually dangerous.
Yeah.
We saw it. He played on a fine line, a force every shift. Forsberg, I feel like kind of sort of not really, but really similar body type, and could do whatever he wanted based on his size, his skill, determination. He's a great player, man. What an era of hockey, yo.
That's not.
Could you imagine Bertuzzi and Forsberg on one line together?
Yeah, that would be wild. Well, it would be like a juiced up version of Naslund, I'd feel. It's interesting that you compared Forsberg to Bertuzzi, but I think you're trying to talk about just how dominant both of them were.
Dominant.
Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Even like the size of each player, just the way they were shaped, the build.
Forsberg was stockier. Like I see, like I think Forsberg, Naslund, right? Like same hometown, like kind of competed against each other. But yeah, you're right. Forsberg was just almost like a stockier version of Naslund. Not as nowhere near as physical as Bertuzzi, but a stockier version of Naslund for sure.
And for longer, yeah. But back on the whole Bertuzzi thing, just an incredible player, and I wonder where his career would have gone if, or how he'd be remembered if the Canucks had playoff success, co-signing with the Steve Moore incident not being a thing.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of bad luck in Todd Bertuzzi's career in a sense, right? Like, think of how things could have been different, right? Maybe Steve Moore, if he doesn't get as injured as he does during that whole skirmish, Todd Bertuzzi's life changes, right?
Yeah.
But even going back to the 2003 playoffs, this guy tells Minnesota that they're going home or whatever, and then Minnesota comes back to beat the Canucks. It's like, if he says that and they win, he looks like a hero too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a couple things that happened to Bertuzzi that, he had some control over how things happened against Minnesota, but overall it was out of his control. That was a team thing. And the Moore thing, I mean, it was dumb. It was in his control, but I don't think he didn't intend for Moore to get that injured. Like that's abundantly clear.
Oh, it's so clear.
Yeah, I mean, he suffered some bad luck for sure in his career, and yeah, it's funny how life works, right? Like a couple things happen differently, and it could be a whole different trajectory for Bertuzzi,
Yeah, man. I mean, not to make an example out of this, but I guess I am, because this is where the conversation is going. It's really a lesson to be learned, man. Like, go ahead and be intense, and go ahead and think about your teammates, your brothers. Be loyal, be hungry, be determined. Again, be a little dangerous, but don't cross the line, dude.
Yeah,
because there are repercussions for your actions, and Bertuzzi missed a lot of time because of the Moore incident. He cost the Canucks another shot at the cup. Another shot. Another chance at a run, because they had to replace Bertuzzi the next day, I think, with Martin Ruchinski. Yeah. So just think about that. They went from Todd Bertuzzi to Martin Ruchinski real quick, and when the team was in their prime. And if he didn't do it, again, I think he dominates longer, because even when he came back, they mentioned this in West Coast Express, the game was never really the same for him, because obviously people had the things to say about his game, and they were booing him all the time. And at the same time, he was probably not willing to go there.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to go there / willing to be fluid and act on intuition and trust your intuitions, and you're thinking just a little bit more than usual, you're never going to be the same Todd Bertuzzi.
Yeah,
no way.
It completely changed his career. And again, great podcast, West Coast Express era podcast. where he talked about just like kind of losing his love for the game and not really paying attention, right? So
Yeah.
could have been a lot different for Todd Bertuzzi, but at the end of the day, he's remembered, I think, for me, as one of my favorite Canucks of all time, one of the best Canucks in Canucks history. And Cal, maybe before we cut to break here, where does Todd Bertuzzi rank among the best wingers in Canucks history?
Best wingers?
Would you say he's the best?
No. Pavel Bure, man.
Yeah.
Daniel Sedin.
After, okay, all right.
No, Daniel Sedin, a better hockey player than Todd Bertuzzi, man.
Yeah.
Because he did it longer. He actually,
I wasn't gonna go down that road, but
I give a lot of props to how Daniel played in the 2011 run too. I know they came up short, but bro, we're talking about the West Coast Express. If we're gonna go back there, you got to admit it, man. These guys couldn't get it done in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they weren't as dominant ever. It's just the truth.
Yeah, that adds to it. So after Bure and Sedin, would you say he's third? I mean, the other candidates are like McGillney or Naslund or Smeal.
Bertuzzi's on that.
Top three.
Marcus Naslund, one of my favorite hockey players of all time, because he was the captain, one of the first heroes. Again, the first thing I loved was the Vancouver Canucks, and this guy was the captain of the ship. The connection was there. But growing up and just watching more sports and hockey, and now just having this moment to look back at it, Todd Bertuzzi was way more dominant, brought way more to the table.
Yeah. Todd Bertuzzi. I would probably, that's a tough one with like Naslund, Mogilny, and Bertuzzi for, third best behind Bure and Sedin. But I would lean towards putting Bertuzzi there too. And I'm a bit biased because he was my favorite player growing up. He was my favorite player growing up. He was one of the main reasons I got into hockey. Just his presence as I was like 5 years old watching the Canucks, like that's what stood out. So, he's an absolute stud. So, on the other side though, Kyle, I mean, again, we were lucky to grow up in an era of winning hockey, right? The West Coast Express era. At least they were making the playoffs. They're making some noise. This young era of Canuck fans is a different story. So, on this side, let's talk a bit about, are the Canucks at risk of losing fans? And is there someone on the Canucks like Bertuzzi who could, spur the next generation of fans to like a new era of hope? But before we do that, Kyle, we're together in the flesh on camera today, both looking sharp. And, one reason why we could look even sharper is if we were wearing some apparel from Bird Dogs. Kyle, we're getting older, grumpier, crustier. And for guys like us, we got to prioritize comfort. That's why we got to, kick off these skinny jeans. Not right now, not on camera. This is a family show. And slide our hairy legs into some Bird Dogs shorts. True story here. When I first put on a pair of Bird Dog shorts, I instantly started moonwalking on the ceiling of my bedroom. Just like that. Just because I put on the shorts, okay? And then when I begrudgingly took off the shorts at the end of the day, I was surprised to see that herd of little mice from Cinderella were inside my shorts, and they gave my man parts a beautiful, refreshing manscaping just in time for my wife's birthday. All true story. So yeah, Bird Dogs, they are more than just shorts. Find out for yourself by going to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Also, when you enter promo code LockedOnNHL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. But the manscaping mice, probably not included.
Why not, man? Locked On Canucks, Kyle Bowen, Trevor Beggs, your team every day. Shout out to the people watching this. Shout out to the people who are not watching this too. Got to send love their way.
It's May long weekend, man. It's May long weekend. So,
bro.
You can catch us anytime on YouTube, but, this Friday on May long weekend.
Dude,
probably not happening.
It's May long week, bro. It's Wednesday. It's 2:00 and I'm cracking a beer. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. I've drank 6 out of the last 7 days, bro. not getting drunk, but I've had a couple of brewskis. Just because the sun is shining and the fridge has been stacked. And, dude, it was the end of my 20s, bro.
Yeah, no, this is a big time in your life. And I've been cracking more brewskis lately too. It's a big time in my life. I'm about to have 2 kids in my life. Right now I have 1.
Why did I almost laugh?
You weren't expecting that to be the reason that I was drinking more? I got to drink now before 2 kids come. No, that's basically a rationale.
Dude, it's over for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, bro. I like how you didn't even try to defend yourself.
I'm not trying to defend myself. And I can't defend the Canucks either because, with almost a decade of losing, a decade of mediocrity, they're at risk of losing young fans. And not only have they lost young fans, but they've lost older fans too. I think both you and I, we got friends in our group who would cheer for the Canucks if they were in the playoffs, friends that were down there in 2011 celebrating it as the Canucks came that close to winning the Stanley Cup. But I think for both you and I, a lot of our casual friends, they couldn't name anyone on the Canucks right now. They just don't care because the Canucks haven't been relevant in a long time. And I guarantee if that's happening with adults in our lives, it's happening with kids too, man. So I think the Canucks, again, to answer the question of are they going to lose a generation of fans, I think they've already lost some. Maybe the better question is there anyone on the Canucks right now who can have a Bertuzzi-like impact and draw fans into the game?
Wow, great question. Great question. I think I, I think that the Canucks have players like that. Quinn Hughes can bring a lot of people back, or turn a lot of these kids who are not cheering for the Canucks into Canucks fans. Same thing with Pedersen. They're some of the best players in the NHL. They're again like top 7, top 10 in their positions in their groups. Pedersen top 10 forward this year for sure. I'm sure he can do it again next season. It's pretty obvious this guy's that damn good, a special talent, the alien from the west coast to best coast of Canada. And then you got Quinn Hughes, who has been one of the silkiest defensemen, I'm sorry, since he's gotten to the league. He's proved it in the playoffs that short time he was in there, and he picks up points all the time. In the last 2 seasons, he's been so good defensively. This guy is going to pick up some Norris votes. They have the skill, but they don't have the wins.
Yeah,
Bertuzzi,
that's the main thing. They need to have the wins.
Bro,
you doesn't have without playoff success.
To start the culture, to start to cast the spell, to make everyone into a believer, you got to have consistency. You can't just the Canucks made the playoffs once in the last 4 years. Like they got it. No, you got to keep winning to instill that belief and those habits, You got to make more games matter, because right now games don't matter. There are a lot of better things to do than watch the Canucks games, for real. And kids, they just got devices everywhere. They can see good hockey. They can feel it out.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There's a lot of Maple Leafs games on TV, There's a lot of Oilers games on TV. Like McDavid is in the league right now. Tampa Bay has won multiple cups. You know what I'm saying? There's just been so much room for this new generation of fans coming from the West Coast, again, the best coast of Canada, to like and enjoy and spend their watching of hockey on other teams and players away from the Canucks. Like you only have 24 hours in a day. So to answer your question, again, the answer is yes, but they got to win. And to go back on your statement, bro, it's the truth, man. It's the truth. I don't care about my friends falling off the Canucks wagon, because the Canucks were good, and it would be nice to watch the game with a couple people who didn't really follow the Canucks, but could rally, They're from Vancouver. They're in the vicinity. Everyone else is watching the game. I'm going to watch the game with them. Boom, they turn into Canuck fans. Because on top of the Canucks, or beneath the Canucks being bad over the last decade, I still have those homies who are the diehards that tap in every game. We're chirping. We're mad, but we're connected.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that generation, though. For real. The kids are not collectively, I don't know. I'm not around a lot of children, but when I did work at Jersey City those years and years and years ago, like 2016, 2017, I'm telling you, I worked there for a long time. Little kids weren't telling their mom or dad on the majority to go to the store to get a Canuck jersey. Dude, it wasn't happening. Get me a Chicago Blackhawks jersey. Get me a Tampa Bay jersey. Get me a Maple Leaf jersey. Dude, this is the truth, because winning matters. Winning is cool. The kids like cool things. Winning is cool.
Yeah, that was a ramble, but that was a fantastic ramble, man. I think you made a number of good points there. It is so accessible, right? Like in today's day and age, it's really easy to watch other good NHL players. And I got a couple of buddies, and their sons are like, one's a big Oilers fan, one's a big Crosby fan. And the Crosby fan, I know, he loves Pedersen, but he also loves Crosby. And got to witness him winning with the Penguins. And at least they were in the playoffs every year up until this year too, right? So you're right. There's a whole new generation of fans who, in a world where it's easy to see other teams play, like there's other options out there. It's not just about the Canucks.
Bro,
so
5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 4-year-olds, when I guess you can have that like recollection of watching games and just start that belief. Like you said, you started watching the Canucks when you're 4 or 5 years old. For me, it was like when I was 6 or 7. You think those same kids are going to be allowed to stay up late or past 8:30 or 9 to watch losing hockey? No, they don't want to, but the kids know, their parents know there are many other better things to be doing. One of them being rest, and the other one being reading a book, for real. You're going to waste your time or lose some sleep watching this team. At that point, your parents are wise, they're smart individuals. They know that losing does not matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's the playoffs that matter, right? Like you'll keep the kids up for a playoff game, but when there's 82 regular season games, you're not keeping the kids up, It's got to be a playoff game.
100%.
So I guess, the better question maybe before we end the segment is, are the Canucks going to have, a continued success for year after year with Pedersen or Hughes in this court? Because that's what it's going to take to have a Bertuzzi-like impact.
Man. I mean, that's the
Actually, in your book, all week with Kyle Bowen, KyleBowen.com, you wrote a book for your 30th birthday, and you mentioned the Canucks winning the cup in 3 years. So I think you see it happening, right?
Yeah, because I'm hopeful. Like, I want to put that into existence. That okay, if they're gonna win the cup in 3 years, that means next season matters.
Yeah.
They start that, they start the belief up, and then year 2 becomes okay. There's a culture here because they've won 2 straight years. As far as playing meaningful games, getting into the playoffs, and that third year is just lucky. Just getting lucky, yo. Just a little bit of luck. Let's do all the hard work.
Take some luck. Look at the Florida Panthers this year, right? It does take some luck sometimes.
Of course, man. It does, man. But
Bobrovsky
how about we rely on
nowhere.
luck being the last thing? I think the Vancouver Canucks, like, they just want to just hope that everything turns around, that they acquire some new players and they get people out and they make like a big deadline trade, or they bring in a new top 6 forward or top 4 D-man or overpay for one of them. And again, just sprinkle in, okay, new year, new me. It may happen here. Like, dude, don't do that. Just do the work. Dude, do the work, man. Prove it. But again, on that note, do the work. Just do the work. I think there is a small chance, which is all you can ask for, a small glimmer of hope that this management group notices that the work matters. The work rate matters. For real, look at what Seattle Kraken did, Look at what Vegas has established over the last 6 years. Like, work rate matters. And they noticed that the culture was bad. They noticed that they had some skilled players and there were some question marks around their identity and player management with Horvat and Miller, blah, blah, blah. But at the core of it, I think they noticed off the jump that, dude, maybe our fastest way to fix this is if we tell everyone here that you guys have been doing it wrong. Switch it up. Do the most. And they brought Tocchet. He seems like the boot camp leader in a nice way. And maybe there's some belief. Again, they already got fined for over practicing this year. It's a good fine. That's a good sign. That's different. So I'm holding on to that and believing that this offseason is going to work out and they're going to be a good hockey team next year. They're going to be a team that competes every game, whereas year in and year out, we've seen it. They haven't had the habits in place to do that, and that's compete. How many times did this team played like 20-minute games for a large stretch of time, year in and year out? They couldn't complete games. That's why they fell out of the race this year, because they couldn't complete games.
Yeah. Well, you got to start winning games next year, but I like your belief, buddy. I like your belief. But, for now, there's only 4 teams left in the playoffs. Let's cut to break quick. We'll end the show on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Canucks. All right. You're back on Locked On Canucks. Again, those Vancouver Canucks not in the playoffs right now, but hopefully they are one day, because, be nice for another generation of fans to love a player like we love Todd Bertuzzi. But yeah, for now, only 4 teams left in the playoffs. And Kyle, I'm taking a risk here because, we're recording on Wednesday because, Friday's the day before the long weekend. We want the day off to go, do our thing. Kyle's got to go get drunk on a houseboat, right, buddy?
Oh, I shouldn't be doing this.
Well, you're not driving, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good. You're just drinking, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
I'm not sailing no boat. I don't even know if I'm one of the captains. So yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on, man.
But yeah, just to end off the show, let's do some conference finals predictions. At least I want to put mine out in the atmosphere. So just to wrap up, I won 5 for 8 in the first round. I got 2 series exact, not bad. 3 for 4 in the last round. I picked both the Panthers and the Golden Knights, which I think went against most pundits, because the Oilers and the Leafs entered round 2 as the 2 Stanley Cup favorites. They're both gone because, Canada's a miserable place in terms of winning championships. But yeah, 4 teams left. So, Vegas and Dallas, I don't know why I made this bet with my wife. Actually, it was because my wife, her uncle cheers for the Stars. And she's like, maybe I should hop on the family bandwagon for this one.
Wow,
and I was like, nah, okay, Knights got this.
What a nice lady.
I shouldn't cheer for the Golden Knights, but I'm going to say this. Mark Stone is one of my favorite players in the NHL who's not a Vancouver Canuck. I love Mark Stone. I've loved him since his time in Ottawa. The way he broke into the league, the way he plays the game, such a two-way ace, the way he celebrates when he scores, the greasy flow. I love a lot of things about Mark Stone. So yeah, I don't really want to see Vegas win. That makes me sad as a Canuck fan, and I think, a lot of teams winning makes me sad as a Canucks fan. But yeah, I can get behind seeing Mark Stone lift the cup, to be honest with you. And I'm going to say Vegas in 7.
Vegas in 7. I'm going to pick the Stars in 7 because I don't want to put that out there and allow Vegas the opportunity to win a cup before the Canucks. I'm tired of that, man. I don't care if that sounds weird and off, and get over it. It doesn't matter. You'll get yours. Don't worry about what other teams get. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't connect. Dude, it does connect. And it's weird. It's weird, dude. How's Las Vegas, that city? They just got a team. It was never supposed to work out there. Why is hockey going to Vegas? How's that team going to have another chance at winning the cup before the Canucks? Don't want it. Dallas in 7. Cool.
Yeah, all right. Hit us up in the comments with your predictions, and if you can stomach cheering for the Golden Knights, because I think I'm on an island of my own there, but I don't think many people in Vancouver are getting behind Vegas, and I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying I could cheer for Mark Stone. This is the exact same things you've been saying. Oh, McDavid could win. It could be good for hockey. Like you're cheering for McDavid. I'm cheering for Mark Stone, not the team, man.
It's not the same thing.
If you can have it, why can't I have it?
It's not because it's not the same thing. McDavid is an outlier, in debates like this, because him winning matters. Like, how we talked about the culture over here, like making the kids into believers of the Canucks again, they got to start winning. If we want more people outside the game of hockey to watch hockey and understand, what it is, and when they have a grasp of it, they'll probably be amazed, because these guys are skating, hitting, scoring goals. It's the best sport. McDavid's that bridge, not Mark Stone. McDavid's that bridge. He's an outlier, so it is different. It's different. I'm calling you a phony because, dude, I know, because think about this, okay? I'm a big fan of Matthew Tkachuk. That dude's a great player. He's something else, but I'm not picking Florida. I'm not picking Florida over Carolina. No, I don't want Florida to win a cup.
No, I'm picking Vegas because I think they can win. I picked my wife at the bet, but I think Vegas can win the series. Obviously, the one thing that scares me is goaltending, but Jake Ottinger has been one of the worst goalies in the playoffs up until Game 7.
He's hurt.
So why can't Adin Hill do it? I think it's an even matchup for sure, but I like the Vegas Golden Knights here. I think they play a more complete game. The fact that they handled the Oilers easier than the Stars handled the Kraken says something to me as well. I know the Kraken are a workman-like team, but the Oilers are on a bit of a different level this season. So I got Golden Knights in 7. I'm also going to say Hurricanes in 6.
Cool. I'm down with that, man. And I really like Rob Brindamore, man. I think that he's a dope dude, and I've listened to a couple of interviews now of him, and I think he, I don't know, he gets it, man. We talked about the whole hard work thing. We talked about, me being 30 years old now and me wanting to be accountable and just figuring out that will be the bridge between what I am now to what I'll get into in the future. I feel like Rob Brindamore knows that. He's known that for a long time, should be Hall of Fame career, to be honest, for real. And look how, quote unquote, quick he's done it in Carolina when, as far as like being a perennial great team. I know they haven't done it in the playoffs yet, but now they're in the Final Four, and they got there with so many injuries again. You mentioned this, and it's because of the culture and the belief and the hope that Brindamore gives them. He's the voice, man. He's the glue. So Carolina in 6, let's get it.
Yeah, I can see him doing it. I just think, despite the injuries, they might be the most complete team left.
Dude, it'd be so funny if it doesn't really matter how he gets in, because I think he's going to get in. It would be so there would be a debate / like wonder around him getting in easier as a player if he wins a Stanley Cup as a coach. It'll soften it up, butter him up.
Yeah, which is kind of dumb. You'll never hear that from the Hockey Hall of Fame, but you can see it happening. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Carolina is analytically the favorite to win the cup right now, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, again, when I talk about complete team, it's not necessarily roster building, but they just play like a team, man. Like they are hard. They're a hard team to beat. So, if it does end up being a Vegas Carolina final, I'm not sure who I'd like there. We'll get to that if it happens. It's probably gonna be Stars and Panthers now, but your boy Beggs. Yeah, I'm hitting above 50% for the first 2 rounds, so I'll take it. But that's it for this episode of Locked On Canucks. We hope you enjoyed the Bertuzzi talk. We hope you enjoyed tuning in to Locked On Canucks. Again, shout out to the everydayers. And if this is your first time listening, I think you picked a great episode. Top Bertuzzi talk, baby.
You did.
But coming up, it's the off season. I think we got to talk about some trade target ideas. There's a couple guys I'm eyeing as a potential third line center. We've talked about the pricey ones. Maybe we'll talk about some of the inexpensive ones coming up on next week here on Locked On Canucks. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks, your team every day.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.